So in last class we have completed flow control commands, case command we have seen, and if command we have seen, if command, all the forms of if, and test command also we have talked about, and conditional executing also we have seen. So here in this class we are going to talk about loop control commands. The purpose of loops is if you want to if you have a requirement of executing a set of commands continuously. So in that case we'll go with loop control commands. Okay, so continuously. So we already talked about in functions that if you have a set of commands executing repetitively. So repetitive is different. Whenever you want, you repeat them. But here it is continuous. You are going to execute the same set of commands continuously. If you start from 1 to 10, again you go to 1. 1 to 10, again you go to 1. So continuously you are going to execute without executing any other commands. Okay, so that is the purpose of loops. Okay, so you may enter, okay, so you may use loops in various scenarios, like to connect multiple servers and execute some commands. If you want to run some commands on remote servers, okay, so the same set of commands, like some, like let's say uptime or load average or whatever it is, whatever you're trying to get. Okay, so in that case you go with loops only. And even if you want to read a file, okay, so line by line. So in some cases, if you want to execute if you want to add multiple users to the system, so and those list of users are there in the file, if you would like to read the file line by line and you would like to add the users, then in that case you go with the loops. Okay, so like a lot of situations you'd be having or you'd be using loops. The only requirement you need to keep in mind is if you have a requirement of executing set of commands by reading a file or putting a condition. Okay, so another example I told you, to connect to multiple servers and to get the output. In whatever the situation it is, if you want to execute a set of commands continuously, then you have to approach loops. And the two loop commands we have are where we have basically is, you have while loop and for loop. So you have two loops which are the basic two loops, and you can reverse the while loop, so which becomes until loop. So you reverse the logic of while loop, it becomes until loop. And also the same way, if you reverse the logic of for loop, then it becomes select loop. So altogether we have four loop commands. Now while command and until command are syntax is similar basically. So if you go with while, and also these two command syntaxes are pretty much similar to your if statement. Okay, so in if statement, if you remember, what is the final syntax I told you? If command then fi, and you'll be having commands. So if this command is successful, then it is going to execute these commands. Now the same way here you'll be having command, or you can put the expression. So you do remember the expressions, the test command expressions, right? So those command expressions, because that is also a command actually. Okay, so you can put it though to and do. So actually if is then and while is do, and after that you are going to put done, not while. So like if you don't have fi, okay, so like if you have fi while you don't have the reverse of while, you'll be having do done actually, and you'll be having commands. So these commands will be executed if this command or the expression is true. Okay, while what it is going to do, if the command or the expression is true, means if this command exists status equal to 0 or the expression exists status equal to 0, it is going to execute these commands. Now it won't come out like if statement, it goes back and again execute this command, and expression, if it is again true, it executes, goes back, again true, it executes, goes back again. So till this expression fails, it is going to execute these commands. So now think about the reverse logic of while loop. So it's pretty simple. It is going to be until. So until Okay, so until this command becomes true. Now when this command is going to get executed is, if command or expression exit status is not equal to 0, then you go and execute this one. If the command exit status is not equal to 0, then you go and execute these commands. Okay, so in some cases until command is going to be useful, and some cases while command is going to be useful, so based on your requirement. So let me show you a small example. I'll go with uh, I'll go with just showing a basic iterations. I'll go with or I'll use read -p, and now while $I is greater than 0, $I is greater than 0, so you are going to have number of iterations. So iterations means the first time you are executing the commands, it is iteration 1, second time you are executing the commands, iterations 2. Okay, the technical term we usually use in loops is iteration. So actually the continuous set of commands execution, we call it as iteration wise. So iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, like that. Okay, so that's the reason I'm giving enter number of iterations. So user wants 2 iterations, he'll give 2 input, and our loop needs to be executed 2 times. Okay, so 2 iteration $I. So next, what we need to do is, so it goes back and execute the same command. Okay, so if you, let's say, assume you have given 1, it is checking 1 greater than 0, it executes these commands. If you put done now itself, what happens? If you put done, so it is going to enter into an infinite loop. Why? Because $I is 1 and 1 is greater than 0, and echo iteration number. So if you put like this, if you put like this iteration number, okay, so which is $I, so it prints 1 1 1 1 continuously. Okay, so if one iteration is done, so what you need to do is you need to reduce one iteration. So how do you reduce is $I minus 1, arithmetic substitution. So now I becomes 0. Okay, so 1 minus 1 is 0, so it goes back here. 1 is greater than 0, sorry, 0 is greater than 0. No, 0 is equal to 0, so it fails and it comes out. So our iteration is going to execute one time, so as our requested by user. So if I give 1, it execute one time, so 2 times, so 3 times. Okay, so that is how it is going to work. Now if you just go with so if you go with until loop, so you need to simply reverse the logic. So reverse the logic is make the statement false. So if $I is less than, okay, but if you give 1 and 1 is less than 0, no, false, it enters now. Actually I need to give less than or equal to. Okay, so to make it false. So if you give script 26.sh, now if I give 1, it execute one time. So 2, execute 2 times. It is 3, I need to execute 3. So you are getting with until loop now. So whatever the requirement you have, okay, you can go with. And while loop is usually, okay, so executed on the command line sometimes to see continuously some operation. Okay, if you continuously need to monitor a process, okay, running on the operating system, we go with while loop or until loop. Okay, and in that case you need to put a condition or an expression Okay, so put something. So if you don't have expression and you want to enter into an infinite loop, if you would like to enter into infinite loop, so you have two commands, which is true and false. Okay, so true command, exit command is exit status is always equal to 0. Okay, so it is always not Q, it is always equal to 0, and it is always equal to 1. So whenever you would like to go with while command, so use while true to enter into infinite loop, and if you would like to go with until loop into an infinite loop, use until false. Okay, let me show you both. So while true, do, so let's say I want to check the load average, I'll get the load average in uptime command. Okay, and done. So I can hit enter. Actually it is going to continuously execute, so I just want to monitor for every 5 seconds. So let's say I'll give sleep 5, so sleep 5 is going to sleep for 5 seconds, and then the load average works. Okay, so you can see the 5 seconds gap here, so it was executed 40 seconds. Okay, so 956 40 seconds, 956 45 seconds, 956 50 seconds. So we are getting 5 seconds, we are getting this particular one, that's all. Now if you would like to go with until, so what you need to do is, if you give until true, it won't work. Why? Because until true, it is true actually. Until always looks for expression or command which is false. I'll go with false. So likewise you can go with the while and until loops. Okay, and the next two loop commands you have is for and select. Okay, so for and select are different kind of loops, which is not like similar syntax of your while and until loop. So these are two commands which are similar to your case command. Okay, so select, let me go with for loop. Okay, so for your variable in, so case your dollar variable in, but here case variable in, not dollar variable. Okay, dollar variable means you are accessing, but I am using var, means I'm defining a variable here. Not, again I'm not going with accessing a variable. Okay, for variable in, if it is equal to pattern1, pattern2, instead of saying pattern1, I can put it at value1, value2, value3, and so on, value n. Okay, so do done in between commands. Okay, so what is going to happen? So for the first time, okay, so let's say I'm using this dollar variable, variable. Okay, so you can put some conditions also. If dollar variable is equal to 1, then do some commands. So like this. Okay, I'm using this particular variable all the time in my commands of, okay, your for loop. Otherwise there is no use of going to for loop. Okay, so this particular variable is going to initialize this particular with this value. What is the way? This is the variable. This variable is going to have the content of value 1, and then it executes the command. So whenever you access variable, you get value 1 and it goes back. This variable is going to load with value 2, and anytime you execute these commands, you are going to get value 2. So for all these values, loading one by one value all these commands, and if all these values are completed, your loop automatically comes out. So this is for command is very useful for administrators. Okay, so for server in, okay, so let's say you are having 10 hosts, host 1, host 2, web 1, web 2, db1, db2, and do. Okay, so let's say you would like to connect to SSH dollar server and you want to get the uptime, and done. So for the first time, server is going to use host 1 SSH host 1 uptime, and the second time the server is going to use host 2 SSH host 2 and uptime. Third time web 1. So you're connecting to two different servers and you're getting those outputs on the same screen. Okay, so this command is very much and pretty much useful for administrators. Okay, now so let me show you that with our example. So addition, subtraction, read -p, enter value 1. So I'll go with not reading the things. I'll go with a is equal to $1, b is equal to $2, and op is equal to dollar. You don't need a op actually. That's fine. For op in, add, subtract, multiply. Let me use this read command only. And so now operators, I'm going to put it in a for loop. So this is absolutely no use, just for our understanding. So r, subtract, multiply divided by 2. So case $op in, if it is equal to add echo equal to $a. So you, in the book whatever I have sent you, you might have observed or not. Okay, so in arithmetic substitution, no need to give even dollar. So if you give a plus b also, it is going to pick those things. If okay, now okay, I'll just put it, you don't see the difference, so that is the reason I'll put sleep 2 seconds. Okay, so these are all the commands which are associated with my for loop. This is one command which is case command, and this is another command. So all these commands will be executed. For the first time, your op is loaded with this add variable, op is loaded with subtract variable, multiply and divided by. So now see, so 10, 20, first time addition, second time subtraction, third time multiplication, fourth time division. So it goes one by one. Okay, so loading one by one value. But the first time op is add, so that's the reason you got addition. Okay, so like that. Now let me copy this particular script to select loop. So what is select loop? So we talked about for loop. What is select loop is, okay, so the for loop syntax is same. You replace with select. That's all. You're done. Like your while and until. So select loop is going to execute all these commands for all these values. Anyhow, for loop also does that. But for loop, what happened, these values are loaded automatically one by one and it executed, whereas select loop is going to list you and ask for which value I have to pick and I have to execute these commands. So something like that, it puts a question. Okay, so you answer the question to the select command. So basically it gives the list of these values, and so after giving the list of those values, you select a value, and based on the value your commands are going to get executed. Okay, so usually for scripts which you want to make a menu, so select command is the best option. Now so 10 20, so you can see here you are getting add, subtract, multiply, divided by, you are getting a list, and it is asking that particular list. So you select one, you'll get addition. You'll get select two, you will get subtract. So you select the value and you are getting the output. So let's say you 3, multiply. Okay, so 4, like this. Okay, so now let's say let me put a multiple scenarios here. Okay, now here you are getting $? As default prompt in select command. So if you would like to print a custom prompt, you can go with a variable called as ps3. So you can go with the ps3 equal to select option. This is the prompt I'm going to get 10 20, so you'll get like this. So you select one, you get addition. So I don't require script 28.sh. So here a lot of things comes into the picture. So let's say if you so every time it is asking you the menu again and again. So let's say if you have a requirement of selecting the option, and after the option purpose is done and the commands is done, you want to come out. So what you can do is you can put exit command here. That's all. So script 28.sh. So 10 20, select one, select addition, and you come out. So 3 1 3 5 multiplication, and you'll come out. So likewise, you go with the loops and you will perform the tasks continuously. Now you have a problem here. So to come out of this loop, what is the command I have used is I used an exit command. Because I have this set of commands, that's fine in my script. But let's say I have some other program here. I have a very big program even after the loop also. So my requirement is to come out of the loop now, not come out of the script. So I cannot use exit command. So what you can do, so yes, it is possible with two loop control commands, which you have is break and continue. So break is to break the loop, and continue is to continue to next iteration.